Welcome to the Hormone Hub podcast. I'm Kylie Pinwell, and this is where we talk about what's really going on in perimenopause and menopause and what you can actually do about it. If you've been feeling like nothing works anymore, you are not alone. You're eating the same foods you always have, you're exercising, you're trying to look after yourself, but suddenly your body feels different. You wake up at 3 a.m. and can't get back to sleep. You're exhausted even after a full night in bed. Your weight's creeping up even though nothing has changed. Your mood feels unpredictable and your patience is a little shorter than it used to. And a lot of women end up asking the same question. What on earth is going on with my body? If that sounds familiar, you are absolutely in the right place. But before we dive back into these conversations, I want to share something with you because if you've noticed that the podcast disappeared for a while, there's a reason. Now, the honest truth is, I needed a break. Like many women, I found myself juggling a lot. The business, family, life, and at one point I realised I was feeling quite burnt out. But there was another realization as well. I started noticing that the work I was doing had drifted away from the type of women that I absolutely love working with. So the women I enjoy working with are curious about what's going on. They're invested in their health. They want to understand what's happening in their body, and they're open to learning and making some changes. Now, not perfect changes, not totally upending their life, but just realistic ones. But I'd started working with some clients who were hoping that the changes would happen without doing the work. And that's a really difficult place to be as a practitioner because at the end of the day, it's my job to guide you. I can teach you, I can support you, I can hold you accountable, but I can't make the changes for you. It's a bit like joining a gym. Just because you have a gym membership doesn't mean you're going to get a six-pack. You still have to show up. You still have to do the work. And I realised that that dynamic had shifted in a way that just wasn't enjoyable for me anymore. So I made the decision to take a step back. So I did, and there was a lot of things going on with the family. So 2 kids had left school. One of those has since gone into the Defence Force and he's training to be an intelligence analyst in the army, which is amazing. So proud of him. But yeah, kind of with all that's going on in the world, that also feels a bit weird and a bit uncertain right now. He'll always have a job, that's for sure. The other one has left school. He is cruising in between ski seasons, so here in Australia, and also he's headed for Canada, so that's exciting for him. And my daughter, who I've spoken about her dyslexia before, so she has left her school that she's been at since grade 1 and has gone to an industry school, which is really exciting. So it's a school for year 10, 11 and 12. She still comes out with a year 12 qualification. She can still go down the university pathway if she wants to. But what they do is they do a 5-week, like across the 10-week term, they do a 5-week education block, and then they do a 5-week like practical experience, work experience type block. So she's loving it. She's one of 8 girls and 120 odd boys. But being a girl with 2 older brothers, anything that the boys throw at her, it's like water off a duck's back. And the same with the other, there's 8 girls. So the same with the other girls, they're all the same. So they're pretty much immune to the boys. She just thinks that they're all a bit stupid. But yeah, I'm really proud of her too for, stepping out of a school that she knows is something she's familiar with and is, stepping into that I guess, boys' world, and she's loving it. So just that practical, that suits her better than traditional classroom style learning. So kids are all in a great place, still have the border collie. He's still as crazy as ever. And we lost our old cat Socks, which was very sad, but we now have, because we can't be petless for too long, 2 little itty bitty kitties. We've got 10-week-old Arlo and Luna, so little kittens. So they've definitely brought a beautiful energy into the house. They're absolutely crazy. They're either zooming around the house or they're fast asleep. There's kind of nothing in between. So, yeah, so that's really fun. Okay, so while I am obviously still happily married to Sean, so we just hit our 24th wedding anniversary a couple of weeks ago. So and still on the Sunshine Coast, not loving the weather right now. It's humid and disgusting. But yeah, embracing aircon when I can. So, yeah, so that's sort of like a little snapshot of where I am. And like over the last sort of 18 months, like I've definitely slowed things down a bit. So I continued to work with a few previous clients, a couple of new clients, but mostly existing clients. I did do some speaking at some events and worked on some different projects. I gave myself the space to really think about the direction of the business. But something interesting happened. So even though I enjoyed the break, I realized that something was missing. And that was the conversations. So I missed, just talking about what's actually going on and helping and be that bridge between understanding what's going on and, what we can do about it. And I really miss those moments where a woman suddenly realizes that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that she's not failing, she's definitely not imagining things, her body is just changing. And that realization reminded me of why I started work in the first place. So if we wind the clock back to the end of 2016, 2017, when I first started working in this space, no one was talking about it. Perimenopause, like it just wasn't even on the radar 8, 9 years ago. But now it's, everywhere. We're all talking about it, which is great. And I love that. But on the flip side that I'm seeing is women are also overloaded with information right now. So there's so much online about hormones, menopause, cortisol, weight loss, supplements, sleep, you name it. But a lot of that advice is confusing. Some of it is completely impractical. Like there's one chick on Instagram, she gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and walks 10,000 steps before she goes to the gym and then she goes to work. And she's basically telling women that you can do this too if you want it bad enough. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want anything bad enough to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for it. So, yeah, so some of this advice just isn't practical. Some of it's not evidence based. Like I've just seen some things that have just made my eyes water. And a lot of it is focused on quick fixes rather than real foundations. So what happens is women jump in, they try a bit of everything, let's up our protein, let's eat more cottage cheese. Like, oh, for the love of God, women, ladies, you do not need to eat your body weight in cottage cheese. Train harder, another supplement. If I see one more magic menopause supplement, I'm going to scream. Another diet. And then when these things don't work out, women start to sort of think, oh, nothing's going to work for me. And that's not the case. And even the narrative around HRT, that's changed a lot too. So, in future episodes, I really want to dive into the nuts and bolts of HRT and what's available to us now, because it's really cool. And not for everyone. So what do we do there? So what we want to do is sort of like actually dig into what's going on, what's actually happening, and what can we do with this changing body. So definitely, as we move into our 40s and 50s, we've got those shifting hormones. Our sleep patterns change, our stress response becomes more sensitive, blood sugar regulation becomes less stable, metabolism can slow down, and then I sometimes feel like it's come to a grinding halt. My own weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss story is a whole other thing, something for another episode. And, what happens is suddenly those strategies that we've always fallen back on and worked beautifully in our 30s just don't seem to work anymore. And this, again, it doesn't mean that there's no hope for us. It doesn't mean we can't do anything. It just means that the approach needs to evolve with us. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about on this podcast. So, as we relaunch the Hormone Hub podcast, my goal is very simple: to give you clear, practical advice that actually works in real life. No extremes, no complicated protocols, no unrealistic get up at 4 o'clock and do anything. Just evidence based information and simple strategies that you can apply in your everyday routine. Because when you get the foundations right, your body responds. Your sleep improves, your energy improves, your mood improves, and everything starts to feel a little easier again. So, if nutrition feels confusing right now, I've created something to help get you started. It's called the Healthy Hormone Foods Guide. This guide walks you through foods that support hormone balance, energy, and metabolism. No trends, no extremes, no crazy ingredients, just the fundamentals that help your body function properly. So you can download this through the link in the show notes. And if there's one thing I want you to take away from this episode, it's this. You do not need to overhaul your entire life overnight. So those small changes that you make can make a really big difference. So I want you to start with one small step this week. Maybe it's improving your breakfast, getting in some protein, some healthy fats, and some carbohydrates, like within 30 to 60 minutes of getting up. Maybe it's getting outside for some morning sunlight, walking outside, put your eyeballs to the sun. And that's going to help with sleep. And we'll talk about that in future episodes. Maybe your body responds by going to bed a little bit earlier. Your body responds really well when you give it the right support. And over the coming episodes, we're going to have a look at exactly how to do that. So I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for listening. Thanks for having me back in your AirPods. And I'm really happy to be back having these conversations with you. See you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Hormone Hub podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow so you never miss a new one. And for more practical hormone support, visit myhormonehub.com.